In this podcast, I want to talk about how I handle communication in the workplace, and I don't mean communication between peers or maybe when dealing with stakeholders. I do want to just focus on reports, direct or indirect reports, people who report to you or work underneath you, whether internal or maybe external contractors or consultants, because how you approach communication is really it's size specific, it's enterprise specific, but just some of the ways I approach it or some of the tools I use could be valuable to people who might be going to a larger company and they want to know um, how to kind of keep good channels of communication open. So when it comes to you know the workplace that I have been in that are sort of on the larger side. I like to make sure that we're using the agile methodology. So every morning we're having stand-ups, and I like to be a part of those stand-ups, or I keep those stand-ups short. Um, when it comes to my direct reports, I like to make sure that I have at least a good handful of direct reports um, who I have regular engagements with. So I like to tell them elevator pitch, right? So I do like to monitor the stand-ups and don't really get involved or ask any questions. And I like to have separate elevator pitches in the morning where they tell me what I need to know, right? So give me high level overview, what's working, right? What's not working, and how can I help, right? So really, really just focusing on the need to know. And this is, in enterprises that you have maybe in your division, you have about, you have a handful of direct reports, but then they have direct reports and so on and so forth. And suddenly you have, hundreds of people um, working in your business unit. So having elevator pitch meetings in the morning and then closing out each day where they tell me, what was accomplished that day, not just from the sort of, not just by them, but also making sure that there's good channels beneath them where everything from the bottom up is making its way to me. So in the morning, I do like to get an elevator pitch from my direct reports. And then I like to ensure that they are getting information from the people who report to them, and so on and so forth, all the way down to the business analysts, the software engineers, people in operations, stuff like that. So that's how I'm able to keep sane. When you have sort of this 60 to 120-second update from each person, um, it does add up, and you can spend maybe an hour to 2 hours every day just kind of getting acquainted. But that's how I like to make sure that I'm getting the most need to know information. I always try to emphasize elevator pitch. Just tell me what I need to know, and pass along the updates that are given to you. Obviously, filter them a little bit because what the software developer tells their manager, they're going to tell them that we architected this, we programmed that, we worked on this system integration, we did that, and yada yada yada. Um, that update makes sense to their immediate manager, but by the time it gets to me, I just need to know that you know maybe even a quick sentence, meaningful progress is being made on such such project. We are this much closer to completion and delivery. Um, something like that, right? Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more nuanced. There's going to be a little bit more to it, but the updates that my employees give to the direct managers towards the bottom is a lot different from the information my reports at the high level give me. So I like to make sure everything from the information flows upwards. And as it goes up at each level, it kind of gets shortened and summarized a little bit more. So by the time it makes its way to me, I'm just getting the most need to know information. That's extremely important because I have seen enterprises where rather than having this sort of pyramid where it gets narrow, I was about to say a word I can't really pronounce. I guess more narrow as you get up. I was about to say narrower, but something in me told me that's not a real word. Um, I have a real life example, very recent, within the last few months, of a CEO of a company, major company, hundreds of millions of dollars revenue. The man has God, I want to say 40 plus direct reports. And what I mean by direct reports, I mean he tries to meet every single one of those 40 people every single day for an update. That is a problem. That's a problem because I don't know when he has time to run the company. I actually am not. I think the company is really just running on momentum from previous leadership and just good operations, good staff at the bottom. Because 40 direct reports is just not, it's just not doable. And I'm not talking, a few direct reports with indirect reports in the mix. No, I'm talking he is meeting with 40 different people every day, just getting updates and delegating work. That is too much, right? You need a good tiered system where everyone is passing along updates to the level above them, and along the way people are intelligently devising these memos or these updates in a way where by the time it gets to you, it has been filtered. Granular details or unnecessary information has been removed. um, the people below you know what they need to know at the technical level, and you really focus on the business value, the business impact, impediments that only you can remove, and progress that is going to be positive to convey to the stakeholders, other executives, investors, stuff like that. So it's really important to have good channels and lines of communication. A lot of people, when they move up, this is something that is difficult for them. When you're a manager and you have a team of 4 and you have no indirect reports, as you move up, you try to be a manager who's accessible. You try to make time for all your people. That's just not doable. The way I approach it, when it comes to my VPs or deputy CXO, we're meeting every day. If it comes to my directors, I try to make time maybe once a week for small weekly engagement. When it comes to my managers, branch managers, regional managers, I try to make time for them maybe every 2 weeks, sometimes even once a month. And obviously, below management, program manager level, I'm not meeting with the employees. I might meet with some key employees every quarter, and when I say key employees, I mean employees who aren't in management, but they're actually resources that are important to meet with. Um, for example, we have architects, or sometimes we have team leads who are sort of functioning as staff engineers. They're not really management, but they are SMEs in their field. So having regular FaceTimes with them is important. But I will say this: I have noticed that the distinguished engineers, I have noticed the architects, they do not want daily or weekly check-ins or even monthly. And when you are an SME in a company, you are that level of a resource. You get to dictate the terms even to the executives, because these are people who understand the technology end to end. They can rebuild our infrastructure overnight if need be. If we lost all our documentation, all our entire code base, all the database, these are people who could rebuild entire infrastructures from memory. So when it comes to these resources, I do try to keep my engagements with them to a healthy minimum, in the sense that they don't feel like I'm overbearing or monitoring them too closely, but just enough that, again, up channeling of information, I need to know what they're doing. So I might get regular updates with them every day, but then when it comes to me sort of meeting with them, that's something that'll happen just kind of as often as comfortable for them. So your communication style, your communication needs is going to vary. It's going to vary based on the industry you're in. Some industries are, um, they thrive by micromanaging people, or there really isn't good policies or procedures when it comes to communication. Employees aren't given a lot of latitude. Everyone has to say something every day, or meet with the manager every single day, meet with the CTO every single day. Um, those might be startups, or there might be more fintech related companies. I have seen those kind of practices in place where they don't like anything to get lost in translation. That's their excuse, at least. So what happens is you have VPs or managing directors meeting with almost everyone in their business unit every single day to get some sort of update. I don't think that's healthy, but to each their own. I like to just have a tiered system where I meet with my direct reports every day, and I get updates from everyone else every day, but I'm not, again, that information is getting filtered by people and it's getting moved up. And by the time it makes it across my desk, it's just, a few sentences of need to know information. So that's really all I have to say with communication. But specifically when it comes to up channeling and down channeling of information, when I convey information to my direct reports, they flesh it out a little bit more, and then so on and so forth as it moves down the chain of command. More and more information is sort of filled in. So whatever it becomes like a sort of a general idea or requirement gets defined by the time it makes its way to the people who will be executing, how it'll be executed, what is necessary to execute, what resources are going to be used. Those are things that my direct and indirect reports will devise. So that's also something that's very helpful, is having good channels when conveying information downward to the boots on the ground.